Inclusive Conservation for the Deaf in Zimbabwe, a groundbreaking initiative by the Sign Language Interpreter Trust, SLIT, funded by Durenpark Amersfoort Wildlife Fund, Netherlands, bringing conservation education to Zimbabwe's deaf community. Sign Language Interpreter Trust, SLIT, is implementing Zimbabwe's first-ever national initiative to promote inclusive conservation among the deaf community. This pioneering project addresses the historic exclusion of deaf people from environmental education and wildlife protection programs through Accessible Zimbabwe Sign Language (ZSL) resources, deaf-friendly conservation workshops, immersive wildlife experiences in national parks. In partnership with Zimparks and the Ministry of Environment and other wildlife and conservation players, the project aims to empower deaf individuals as active conservation participants while creating a replicable model for inclusive environmental stewardship across Southern Africa. Zimbabwe's rich biodiversity and globally significant wildlife habitats remain largely inaccessible to the deaf community due to communication barriers. The gap. Conservation initiatives have historically excluded deaf people, leaving environmental awareness levels low and untapped potential for deaf youth contributions. The alignment. This project integrates accessibility, inclusion, and environmental education, supporting SDGs 4, quality education, 10, reduced inequalities, and 15, life on land. Our goal is to empower Zimbabwe's deaf community to actively participate in conservation efforts through accessible environmental education, capacity building, and direct engagement with wildlife and nature. We aim to achieve these goals through creating open-source ZSL resources, producing a series of Zimbabwe Sign Language conservation videos on wildlife, climate change, and biodiversity protection, conducting deaf-friendly workshops where we teach sign language and inclusion and conservation programs. Partner with Zimparks, the Ministry of Environment, and other players to deliver accessible environmental education workshops. Facilitate hands-on conservation training. Organize immersive field activities for deaf youth in national parks and protected areas. Establish replicable model through creating a framework for inclusive conservation programming that can be adopted throughout Zimbabwe and the region. This will be done through developing professional sign language open-source conservation videos, hosting regional deaf-friendly workshops with interpreters and conservation personnel, training 200 participants in sign language and conservation, conducting national park trips, engaging deaf youth in hands-on conservation practices, sharing inclusive conservation content through media channels, reaching to more people. The project aims to help deaf individuals gain practical environmental conservation skills and knowledge, becoming advocates within their communities. National parks and environmental authorities adopting inclusive engagement practices that include deaf people in sign language, which will become standard operating procedure. The project also aims to increase recognition of the importance of inclusion in conservation efforts, creating broader societal impact. It will also strengthen Dutch-Zimbabwean partnership on sustainable development and inclusive conservation practices. The program's primary beneficiaries are the deaf communities across Zimbabwe, including youth and students, adult community members, deaf community leaders and educators. The secondary beneficiaries will be conservation agencies and park staff, environmental educators and institutions, general public through awareness campaigns, future generations of conservation leaders. Sign Language Interpreter Trust, the voice and ear of the deaf. For further engagement, please feel free to contact us on interpreter@slit.org.zw +263 773 410 621.
Sign Language Interpreter Trust, the voice and the ear of the deaf.